Welcome back to episode 2 of Faraday Tech Cafe. I am your host, Gwendolyn Faraday, and in this podcast, we bring you interesting stories, information about new technologies, and fresh perspectives from around the development community. In today's episode, I interview Nicole Osbun, a technical recruiter for Vaco, who is passionate about helping software developers not only find their next job, but have a truly fulfilling career. She is here to explain to us how recruiters can be of help to developers and set the record straight on why there are so many misconceptions about recruiters in the software industry. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for coming on the show. Would you like to start off by telling everyone a little bit about yourself as well as your background?
Yeah, sure. I'm Nicole Osbun, and I am a technical recruiter for Vaco, Indianapolis. Vaco is a large corporation. We're actually in 43 areas of the United States as well as in Canada. I focus here in Indianapolis on our tech community. Very involved getting out and meeting people, helping them to find the right connections for that next step in their career.
Awesome. So first, could you define a little bit about what a recruiter is, just so everyone who's listening is on the same page?
A recruiter should be someone who is able to help you from the I am beginning to look for either a job or a next step in my career path, to answering questions, going over your resume, interview prep, all the way through actual placement, whether they place you in a role, which would be their ultimate goal, or if they're just helping you to hone those skills for you to find a role on your own. Ultimately, there's no guarantee that the recruiter is going to be the one who places you. That is what they want to do. But regardless, they should be helping you in many aspects of your search.
Awesome. So they're kind of a useful tool in job searches and for the company as well.
Yes, absolutely. Companies hire us to find the best and brightest talent and to bring those people to them so that they're not looking through 200 resumes. They're looking through the 10 that I bring them and say, here's the top talent that I found for you in your search.
Awesome. So I saw a little bit on your LinkedIn that you come from a different background. It didn't seem like you did recruiting before, and then about 2 years ago you got into technical recruiting. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but could you just talk a little bit about how you got into technical recruiting and why?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. My background is in human resources and sales. I ran a sales team from hiring, building the team, training them out for about 5 years. Loved that, loved what I did. The company was purchased, and at that time it was time for me to part ways. It wasn't any more doing the same type of work that I loved. Yeah. So I went out to dinner with some friends, and they're all in the tech community here in Indianapolis. Because of my background in human resources, they had all come to me over the years and had me tweak their resume and help them with, interview prep and those kind of things. Went out for dinner, and it was one of those conversations of, I don't know what my next step is. And they all said, you really should be a tech recruiter. It's what you do. It's where your heart is and kind of what your passion is. I called a recruiter that my husband had known for many years and spoke with her about it. Basically said, can I take you out for lunch and talk? And she said, no, come in for an interview. It sounds like this is where you belong. And that's why I ended up at Vaco.
So it sounds like you've enjoyed your time there.
Yeah, I do. I really love it.
That's always a great feeling when you find a job that you can do that you also love. And it really shows through in your passion for it and your work in the community. So what do you love so much about being a technical recruiter?
I really love being able to walk people through the next logical step for their career. I think a lot of times, especially as a technologist, you get involved in, okay, this is what I need to learn next, or this is, the trend is all going into the cloud, so I need to go study for my AWS or Azure certificates, or there's so much that's put on you to study, learn, continue, that it's also hard to be able to look at it from the kind of global sense of where do I go next. So I really love being able to step in and help people with that. We talk through their career, talk through their background, talk through their passion, and then I'm able to kind of say, hey, does this make sense? Let's talk about some options here, and just really make that logical next step for them.
So you're kind of doing more than just recruiting for a company. You're providing kind of, I guess, career advising and help to developers and technologists. Is that correct?
Well, I talk a lot about recruiters do better is actually one of the hashtags that I use on my LinkedIn. There are really two types of recruiters. There are recruiters who recruit to the job board, meaning that I have a job for a C# developer. So this week I'm only going to talk to C# developers and nobody else matters to me in the world. To me, that doesn't make sense. I'm always recruiting for all technology because if you think about your career path, someone who's in technology is going to change really every 3 to 5 years as their learning curve grows so much and they change and technology changes. So I don't recruit to the job. I recruit to the person. I want to get to know you, get to know what you're about, and help you build that long-term career. Ultimately, you're going to come back to me again and again as you make those strategic moves, and we can continue to work together. As if I just placed you in that C# job role that I'd never hear from you again and you'd never hear from me again and we're done.
That's interesting, the idea of recruiting for the person, not the job. And I think we're going to get into some of the disconnect between developers and recruiters, but I've got to imagine that's where a lot of it lies, because as developers, if you have at least 6 months or 1 year of experience right now, you're just being inundated with emails and messages about job postings. And I would say about half the time I look at the posting and it's really not relevant to what I'm doing, my career goals, or anything. It really feels kind of like spam. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, and there's going to be some misses. Think about that like meeting with a real estate agent for the first time. I'll use that as an example because so many people have done it.
Yeah.
When you sit down with your real estate agent, the first thing they're going to do is say, okay, tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. And, you're going to say things like, okay, I need a 3-bedroom house with a 2-car garage. Are they going to show you 4-bedroom homes? Yes. And that might make sense. You might use that office space. Are they going to show you 1-bedroom homes? No. So it comes down to during those initial times of getting spam, they're trying to open up a conversation. The recruiter just wants to talk to you and get a feel for what you need, what you don't want, what you like. The best thing you can do actually is respond to those with, hey, this is not the job for me. I'm looking for this, this, and this. Let me know if that comes up.
Oh, interesting.
Then you can focus that instead of it being a hit or miss spam, you can give them a focus of contact me when you have these roles.
That's a new way of looking at it instead of just a random posting that I'm getting. It could be an opportunity to develop a relationship.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And then you can, going back to that analogy of the real estate agent, then you can kind of figure out, if my real estate agent kept showing me 1-bedroom homes when I told her I needed a 3-bedroom, I'm eventually going to change agents.
Yeah.
That person's not listening to me. So you want to give the recruiter a chance to listen to you and hone what they're looking for. But if they continue to throw out stuff that doesn't make sense, eventually you're going to come back and say, okay, you're not the recruiter for me.
Yeah.
I do suggest that people in technology have at any given time maybe 3 recruiters that they're ready to work with who know them, know their background, know their needs, so that when something happens, when you're ready to make a job move, whether on your own or by necessity, you have 3 people already in your pocket who know you.
That's really good advice. You've talked a little bit about how you are able to help developers with not just job placement, but also advising developers on a pathway they can take in their career. Are there any other ways that recruiters can help developers?
It's the recruiter's job to know what's going on out in the IT sphere. So you know what's happening in your job role in your company. But why would you know what's happening in the company across the street or across the city? It's my job to know that. I always joke that you can kind of break Indianapolis up into 2 types of companies I place people at and companies I steal people away from. What that means, though, is that there are companies that I know people go to and are happy at and stay at. What I can do there is if you happen to tell me you're looking at one of those, even if I don't have the job rec, I might be able to reach out to somebody there and say, hey, this wonderful person is looking for a job and they've applied with you. Can you at least have their resume looked at? So sometimes I can help just with networking into a company. The other side of it is those companies that people are leaving. People leave companies for a reason. I'll never speak badly about a company, but if I know that there's a cultural clash happening or some changes happening inside a company, I would try and give you tips of, when you go in for your interview, ask them about the work-life balance or ask them about this recent change in their culture. So I can give you ideas of what's happening that really prepare you to walk into that interview ready to go and understanding what's going on inside.
Awesome. And that's really good information because I know a lot of developers, especially new developers who don't have that much interview experience. Maybe it's their first, second, or third job. It's really a nerve-wracking experience to go into an interview and not know what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the benefits of working with a agency. Let's say it's one of the jobs that I'm putting you forward to. I meet with every candidate and we meet with every client company. So if I'm putting you forward to one of my clients, I'm able to tell you, okay, when you go in, you're going to meet with this receptionist. She's going to put you in this room. You're going to wait about this amount of time for people to come in. You're meeting with these 3 people on your panel interview. Here's the type of questions that they seem to ask. Here's the type of personality that they might be looking for. So I can give a lot more insight into what that interview process will be like for you. It lets you really shine. You're not worried about, should I be wearing a tie or should I not be, or how, because I know all that and I've shared all that with you before you even walk in the door.
Awesome. So is there a difference, because you mentioned an agency, is there a difference between working with an internal recruiter at a specific company versus a general recruiter at an agency?
Yeah, so an internal recruiter is only recruiting for that company. So if you are an internal recruiter for ABC company, you are only looking to fill those roles. You wouldn't necessarily be out networking in the community as much. Let's say that ABC company is a .NET shop. You're not going to be out looking for JavaScript developers because it doesn't mesh. So you would have kind of your piece of the puzzle that you focus on, where an agency, we have to go out and meet with all of these clients and let them know that we are available, that we want to help them to fill these roles, that we're the best company to help them fill these roles, and here's all the reasons why, based on our track record and what we do. So before we even get the job rec, we have to kind of sell ourselves to those companies that they're using us to find people. And then we're going out and finding the candidates. So we're really working what's referred to as full desk, working kind of both sides with the client hiring us and the candidate coming through us. With that, we have a bigger picture of what's going on in the city completely, because we're not just focused on one company's needs.
Okay, interesting. So you said that a big difference is also not networking as much in the community. And since you're a more general recruiter, I assume that's one of the reasons why you are so active in the local community. I think I also saw that you recently won an award called the Community Impact Award for your involvement in the local community. Is that right? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I did not win the award. The Indie Hackers, which I'm on the board of, has been nominated for a Mira Award. The Mira Awards are one of the highest awards that you can get in technology in Indianapolis. So right now we're just nominated. There are a lot of other wonderful nominees.
Oh, okay.
It's very much a pleasure to be nominated amongst those people. With that being said, I do try and get out and get involved in the community. I go to a lot of Coffee and Codes. I go to a lot of the AWS Indie Pie meetups. I post weekly where I'm going, so that if people want to meet me at a place, they can do so. I think it's very hard in technology to get out from behind a computer screen sometimes and go and meet people.
Yes.
And it's literally my job to be able to walk up to somebody and shake hands and say, hi, who are you? So happy to do that for people. That's another kind of service that a recruiter can offer, is just introductions. I am part of the Indie Hackers Board, which is very involved in the community, helping inclusivity in the community, helping to build up meetups, helping to let people know what's out and available. So awesome. I try to stay myself out and available to help in any way I can.
Yeah, I know when you came and talked at our meetup, Free Code Camp Indy, it was one of our best meetups ever. We got really good feedback from that and from the panel you were on afterwards.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that.
So what do you think is this disconnect? Since recruiters are so helpful to developers and their goals align, where developers want to get the best fit for them, the best job, and recruiters want to put them in the job where they'll be the most successful. So where is the disconnect where developers aren't, I guess, trusting recruiters?
I think the disconnect is on the recruiter side. There are recruiters that are out there that are just recruiting to the job that they have in front of them. So if you don't fit into the box that they have open right now, then you may never hear from them again. And I think it's really a matter of organization, a matter of just being able to be available and being open, and a matter of thinking beyond their own current pocketbook. Recruiters are paid by the placement. So it does make sense for them to try and place you into whatever they have right now. But it's short-sighted in that it's not looking for what are they going to have next week, next month, next year that might make sense for you. So It's continuing that community and continuing that involvement, continuing that connection with the candidate is more important than can I place you right this second. I think a lot of recruiters lose sight of that.
Okay, so you think a lot of the disconnect is on the recruiter's side. I think there are also a lot of misconceptions with developers. For example, some developers think they'll have a smaller chance of getting hired if they work through a recruiter because of the recruiter fee. And there are some other ideas that are out there, such as they will make less money and things like that. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, there are certainly some misconceptions on the developer side as well. So you bring up two very good ones. The first being thinking that they'll have a lower chance of getting hired. That's a really strong misconception. I think a lot of people think that they should just apply on their own. Understand that my clients hire me because they know me and trust me. So they know that I'm meeting every person. They know that I'm vetting them. I actually have an in-depth process with my clients as well, where when they give me a new job, even if it's a job that I've filled for them in the past, I have a meeting with them and we talk about, what are we filling here? Why did the person who left this role leave? What are you looking for this person to have that person didn't? How are we looking at this role growing or changing over time? So there's a lot of things that go into me learning about a role in order to fill it that you're not going to get just from the job description applying. So you can get a lot more with a recruiter working for you. And then my clients know and trust that I've vetted that and I'm ready to put that person in front of them. As far as people feeling like they're going to make less, there's a lot of confusion on how recruiters get paid. And it's actually really simple. My clients pay a bonus to me for finding you. And that bonus is based on how much you make. So it makes sense for me to get my candidate as much money as possible. The more money I get them, the higher my bonus is. So it really is helpful for both of us, and it doesn't take away from the company at all because the client already has an idea before they even get me involved of here's the band of what we're paying for this opportunity. It also gives me a chance to go back. Let's say that band is completely off. Let's say they want a 5-year React developer for $60,000. I can run analytics and take back to them and say, here's what the market is really showing you need to be paying this person. So a lot of times companies, just because they're not out involved as much or they're not seeing changes in the industry, I can go back to them and say, hey, for you to get the person that you want, here's what you're going to need to pay.
Awesome. Thanks for clearing that up. So basically, you and the developers are even more aligned than I thought before. You're incentivized to get the developer not only in the right position, but you're also on the developer's side, really, in trying to get them the biggest package possible when negotiating with the company.
Yes, I'm very much advocate for the candidate. The more money I can get the candidate, the better off everybody is.
I think just that statement there would make a lot more people want to work with a recruiter.
Yeah, and I think what happens over time is they talk to a recruiter here or there who's not looking at the long term or not helping them, and they feel like that recruiter just didn't feel like they were going to make money off of me and didn't care anymore. So I think recruiters give themselves a bad name by not treating candidates well. And I'm really trying to kind of fight against that and say, no, there are really wonderful recruiters out there. Sometimes you have to search for them. It's just like any other type of occupation. Sometimes you just have to go out and search for the best doctor or lawyer or whatever's out there.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So how else do you think recruiters could improve?
I think recruiters need to be very involved in their community. I think that recruiters need to be very open on what they can and can't do. I can't make a job be the right fit for you. I can't make a job appear. I think a lot of times recruiters want so badly to place somebody, it's easy to make it sound like it's a lot easier than it is. And it's not an easy job. If getting the right candidate in the right position was an easy job, I wouldn't be needed. So I think just making sure that's a very realistic conversation. I often have people ask me, well, how long will it take for you to find me a job? And I explain that's kind of like asking where lightning is going to hit. There's so many things that need to line up. It needs to be the right candidate, the right job, the right time, the right pay scale. Everything needs to fit perfectly, and you need to be the best candidate of the however many that I'm putting in front of the client. So there's a lot of things that all come together. So it's kind of like I said, like looking at when will lightning strike. I can't say that. I know that it will. Lightning's going to hit. The jobs are out there. You're going to find something. The more we can put out there, the more lightning rods or more resumes out there possible.
That's really funny. It's such an engineering mindset, I feel like. How long will it take me to get a job? As if there's a specific algorithm that will let them know.
Yeah, I wish there were. But like I said, if it was that easy, I wouldn't have this role.
Yeah, that's why we have humans like you involved.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could change one thing about the mindset of developers towards recruiters, what would it be?
I think it would be that recruiters are out for themselves because so many of us are not. I'm really out to help the community and to do more. I'm paid a bonus. I'm straightforward on that. It's great if I can get you placed and get that bonus money, but that's fine. If it's not a placement with me, I'm also well taken care of on, my base with Vaco. So what I worry about is, can I make a good impression to keep this conversation going so the next time you have a need, we can talk again. And I think recruiters need to focus on that. And I think the more that they do, the more that developers will see that we're out to help them, and the more that it will all work together.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that has to do with the disconnect again. Do you have any final words or anything else you would like to talk about here?
I think the most important thing is there are good recruiters out there. There are wonderful companies to work with. Really find somebody who you feel is looking out for you, whether it be a recruiter with Vaco or with a competitor company. Find a couple. When you're early in your career, talk to every recruiter will talk to you. And then through that process, you'll find who you really feel like you connect with, who really understands your need, and who's looking out for you. Whittle it down then as you progress your career to those 3 to 5 that you call and say, hey, I'm ready to start looking. And whether it be active looking or passive looking, they're there in your corner ready for you.
So you're saying that from the beginning, probably from when you're first looking for your first job, start to mingle with recruiters, find recruiters, because you might not be ready to be placed right then, but the recruiters who are really looking out for you will start to form a relationship with you, and you might be able to use them down the road.
Absolutely.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for all of that information. Just to wrap up here, do you have any resource, any book, movie, anything you recommend people check out?
I absolutely really focus on continuous learning. I think that you should always be on Udemy. You should always be out looking at code wars, just continuing to push yourself to learn more, do more, know what's out there. There's always certifications and more that you can do in tech, and that's one of the things that I really love about it. A book series that I really like is Heads First, Object-Oriented Programming, Heads First Java. It's kind of like the For Dummies series. You can find it on Amazon, so that's a really great resource just to know what's out there and what's available and kind of what to learn next. But continue going to meetups, continue to talk to people who are further down the path than you and know what steps to take.
Awesome. Thank you for those. And we'll definitely include that and the Head First series in the description below.
Great. Thank you.
So where can people find you online?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Nicole, Nicole. Last name is Osbun, Osbun.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Faraday Tech Cafe. Don't forget that all of the info and items that were mentioned during the podcast are listed in the show notes for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a positive review on your podcasting platform of choice. For questions or feedback related to the show, you can email us at contact@faradayacademy.com. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel for more great content on a variety of programming topics. Subscribe to the podcast so you can get notified about new episodes that come out every Monday. Until next time.